Welcome to Part 80 of the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg, where we explore true crime, urban legends, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, internet mysteries, and more. Quick reminder to click like and subscribe and the notification bell. Chandra Levy, a 24-year-old intern at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, vanished in Washington, D.C. on May 1st, 2001. Her disappearance captivated national attention, intertwining politics and media frenzy due to her affair with Congressman Gary Condit. Chandra was last seen alive at her apartment complex in DuPont Circle. Neighbors reported hearing a scream on the night of her disappearance, and subsequent investigation revealed significant delays in police response and errors in handling evidence. Surveillance footage that could have provided crucial leads was overwritten before being reviewed by investigators. The affair with Congressman Condit became a central focus of the investigation. Condit initially denied the relationship but later admitted to it during police questioning. Despite extensive media speculation and intense scrutiny, Condit was never formally charged or even identified as a suspect in her disappearance. The affair, however, significantly impacted his political career, leading to his loss in the Democratic primary for his congressional seat in 2002. Chandra's remains were discovered a year later in Rock Creek Park by a jogger. The skeletal remains, scattered along a steep slope, provided little conclusive evidence about the cause of her demise. Key items found at the scene included a sports bra, leggings, and a Walkman. Due to the decomposition, forensic experts could not determine a specific cause, though damage to her hyoid bone suggested possible strangulation. In 2009, Ingmar Guandike, who was already serving time for attacking two other women in Rock Creek Park, was charged in Levy's case. He was convicted in 2010 based primarily on the testimony of a jailhouse informant who later recanted. The lack of direct evidence and subsequent revelations about witness credibility led to the overturning of his conviction in 2015. By 2016, prosecutors dropped all charges, and Guandiki faced deportation to El Salvador for his other confirmed crimes. Despite multiple attempts to bring closure over the years, the true story behind Chandra's disappearance and fate remains a mystery. The SS Baichimo, often referred to as the ghost ship of the Arctic, was built in 1914 by the Lindholmens shipyard in Sweden. This 230-foot-long cargo steamer originally served trade routes between Sweden and Germany. After World War I, it was seized by the British as part of war reparations and sold to the Hudson's Bay Company. Renamed SS Baichimo, the ship was primarily used to trade fur pelts along the northern coasts of Canada and Alaska. In October 1931, during a routine voyage, the ship became trapped in the ice near Barrow, Alaska. An early and severe winter storm rendered the ship immobile. Captain Sidney Cornwell and his crew initially hoped that the ice would soon thaw, allowing them to continue their journey. As conditions worsened, 15 crew members were airlifted to safety, while Cornwell and the remaining crew set up a temporary camp on the ice near the stranded vessel. On November 24, 1931, a blizzard struck, and when it cleared, the Baichimo had vanished. The crew assumed it had sunk, but soon after, an Inuit hunter reported seeing the ship drifting 50 miles south. Despite several attempts to retrieve it, the ship continued to elude its would-be salvagers. Over the next few decades, the Baichimo was sighted numerous times, often floating aimlessly or trapped in ice. These sightings occurred sporadically up until 1969, when it was last seen off the Alaskan coast. One of the most famous encounters occurred in 1933, when a group of Inuit hunters took refuge on the ship during a storm. They were stranded on the ship for 10 days and found themselves 250 miles from where they had originally boarded when the storm finally abated. Notably, in another incident in 1933, the ship was seen off the coast of Wainwright, Alaska. During this sighting, the locals decided to board the ship, take some items off it, and also take pictures of the ship, which have survived. Notably, the picture on the screen right now is one of the pictures taken during this 1933 incident. This incident, among others, cemented the Baichimo's reputation as a ghost ship, drifting through the Arctic waters on its own. Despite numerous efforts to locate the ship, including a formal search by the Alaskan government in 2006, the ship remains lost. Theories abound regarding its fate. Some suggest it eventually succumbed to the harsh Arctic conditions, while others believe it still drifts somewhere, preserved by the cold. Still others believe that the ship's apparent longevity as a ghost ship indicates otherworldly forces at play. Some have suggested that there may be a time slip causing the ship to disappear and reappear throughout the years. The Tarim mummies, discovered in the Tarim Basin of present-day Xinjiang, China, date back to around 2100 BC. They were first brought to light in the early 20th century by European explorers. However, the most significant discoveries occurred in the late 1970s, when Chinese archaeologist Wang Binghua unearthed several of these mummies in the Tarim Basin. The dry, salty conditions of the desert and the extreme cold of the region's winters naturally preserved the bodies, which is why some of these mummies remain in an excellent state. Notably, their skin, hair, and clothing is still intact. What makes these mummies particularly intriguing are their distinct Caucasian features. Some have blonde or red hair and facial structures associated with European features. Notably, the Yingpan man, one of the tallest mummies found at 6 feet 6 inches, was buried in a red woolen tunic adorned with gold embroidery and a gold mask. Recent genetic studies have shed light on the origins of the Tarim Basin mummies. Contrary to earlier theories that they were Indo-European migrants, it is now believed that these mummies were descendants of an isolated population related to ancient North Eurasians. Their diet included wheat and dairy from West Asia, millet from East Asia, and medicinal plants from Central Asia, showing a wide range of cultural influences. The burial practices of the Tarim Basin people are another area of intrigue. Many of the mummies were found in boat-shaped coffins, covered with cowhide and marked with wooden posts or oars. These boat burials are unique and have no direct parallels in other known ancient cultures. While much has been uncovered about the Tarim mummies, many questions remain unanswered. William John Cavendish Scott Bentinck, the 5th Duke of Portland, was born on September 17, 1800, in London, England. He was the second son of William Bentinck, the 4th Duke of Portland, and his wife Henrietta. Despite not being the firstborn, he eventually inherited the title after his elder brother's death in 1824, which made him the Marquis of Titchfield. He became the Duke of Portland upon his father's death in 1854. John Bentinck was known for his reclusive and eccentric lifestyle, which has sparked numerous stories and speculations. His seclusion was so extreme that he communicated with his staff through a series of letterboxes outside his rooms. Only his personal valet was allowed to see him face to face. He was known to venture outside, mainly at night, accompanied by a servant who carried a lantern 40 yards ahead of him to light the way. One of the most interesting aspects of the Duke's life was his extensive renovation of Welbeck Abbey, his family estate. He hired thousands of workers and spent a fortune transforming it. He had a vast network of tunnels and rooms built underneath the abbey. These tunnels extended for 15 miles, connecting various buildings on the estate and even reaching the nearby train station. The underground complex included a library, a ballroom, a picture gallery, and a billiards room. Some tunnels had glass ceilings to allow natural light, and many of the rooms were painted pink. He also had a peculiar routine when traveling. When he needed to go to his London residence, Harcourt House, he would travel in a carriage loaded onto a train. Upon arrival, all the household staff were required to hide as he quickly made his way to his study. His dietary habits were equally unusual. It was said that he insisted on having a roast chicken ready at all times, delivered to him via heated trucks running through the tunnels. He once proposed to the famous opera singer Adelaide Kemble, but she turned him down. This rejection reportedly had a profound impact on him, further deepening his reclusiveness. Despite his secluded life, there are claims that he fathered several illegitimate children, although these claims remain unverified. He was known to handle all his business via correspondence and avoided any public or social engagements. He rarely participated in politics, despite serving as a member of Parliament for King's Lynn from 1824 to 1826. His political activity was minimal, and he took years to take his seat in the House of Lords after inheriting the dukedom. The true motivations behind his actions are still debated. One prevalent theory suggests that the Duke may have suffered from psychological issues, such as social anxiety or a form of autism. His extreme shyness, refusal to see people, and unusual communication methods support this idea. The Duke's insistence on isolation and his peculiar routines could be seen as coping mechanisms for these conditions. Another theory posits that the Duke was hiding a physical disfigurement. This idea is fueled by rumors from his time that he was either disfigured or suffering from some ailment. His avoidance of public appearances and reluctance to be seen by anyone, including his doctor, add weight to this theory. Some theories suggest that the Duke's behavior was driven by an extreme obsession with privacy and control. His elaborate underground tunnels and rooms at Welbeck Abbey, which allowed him to move around unseen, indicate a desire to avoid public scrutiny. This obsession might have been a result of his introverted nature, amplified by his status and wealth, which allowed him to indulge in such extensive modifications to his estate. An interesting posthumous theory involves the Druce case, a legal controversy that emerged after the Duke's death. It was alleged that the Duke led a double life as Thomas Charles Druce, a London upholsterer. This claim led to a sensational court case where Druce's coffin was exhumed to prove or disprove the theory. The exhumation revealed Druce's body, debunking the theory, but it added another layer of intrigue to the Duke's already enigmatic life. Hey everyone, just popping in for a short second to promote my channel. Remember to like and subscribe, and also share this video with your friends and family. And if you're feeling really generous, make sure to consider signing up for the Patreon or a YouTube membership. There's some exclusive content, and occasionally videos are dropped in early access. Edgar Cayce, known as the Sleeping Prophet, was a notable American clairvoyant whose life and work have fascinated many for over a century. Born on March 18, 1877 in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Cayce claimed to possess the ability to channel his higher self and access information on a wide range of subjects while in a trance-like state. Cayce's journey into the mystical began at a young age. He reportedly saw his deceased grandfather's ghost and had a vision of a winged woman who told him his prayers had been answered. Also, just looking over my script here, a ghost of a deceased person seems a little redundant, doesn't it? Anyway, if you're hearing this clearly, I decided to keep it in. This vision led him to develop a unique ability. He could sleep on books and absorb their contents. This skill transformed him from a struggling student into the best in his class. In 1892, after being struck in the spine during a schoolyard game, Cayce experienced a profound shift. He began diagnosing his own ailments in his sleep, providing specific remedies that he claimed worked. This marked the beginning of his career as a clairvoyant healer. Over his lifetime, Cayce provided more than 10,000 documented readings on topics such as health, reincarnation, dreams, the afterlife, and even the lost civilization of Atlantis. Casey's insights into Atlantis are among his most intriguing claims. He described Atlantis as a technologically advanced civilization that existed around 10,000 years ago. According to Casey, the Atlanteans harnessed quantum energy, used crystals for power, and had technologies far superior to modern inventions, including aircraft and submarines. He predicted that evidence of Atlantis would be found near Bimini in the Bahamas, a claim that some believe was partially validated with the discovery of the Bimini Road in 1968. Casey's medical readings recommended treatments that included dietary changes, use of natural remedies, and even specific mental exercises. Many of his health suggestions, such as the benefits of a good night's sleep and exercise, have been supported by modern research. That said, it's important to note that he was by no means the first person to preach the positive effects of sleep, or that exercise is healthy. Apart from his health readings, Casey made numerous prophecies about future events. He is credited with predicting the stock market crash of 1929 and the outbreak of World War II. Casey's work led to the founding of the Association for Research and Enlightenment, ARE, in 1931, an organization dedicated to the study and preservation of his readings. The ARE continues to explore Casey's insights and their applications in various fields. Despite his remarkable abilities, Casey's life was not without controversy. Skeptics question the validity of his claims and attribute his trance readings to psychological phenomena rather than supernatural abilities. However, his supporters argue that the accuracy and depth of his readings provide compelling evidence of his gifts. On December 6, 2009, Susan Powell, a 28-year-old mother of two from West Valley City, Utah, disappeared. Susan was born in October 1981 and married Joshua Powell in 2001. They moved to West Valley City in 2004. By 2009, their marriage was strained due to Joshua's controlling behavior and financial difficulties, including a bankruptcy filing in 2007 with over $200,000 in debt. Susan's anxiety over their relationship led her to document her concerns. In a secret will, she wrote about her fears for her safety, indicating that her potential demise might not be accidental. On the day of her disappearance, Susan took her children to church and later interacted with a neighbor. By the next morning, when neither she nor her children appeared at daycare, alarms were raised. When police arrived at the Powell home, they found her belongings intact, 2 fans directed at a damp spot on the carpet, and no signs of forced entry. Joshua returned that evening, claiming he had taken his sons on a spontaneous camping trip in freezing temperatures, an explanation that aroused suspicion. Police investigations quickly centered on Joshua. His subsequent behavior raised more red flags. He rented a car on December 8th and drove over 800 miles before returning it. During searches, police discovered traces of Susan's blood on the carpet and her handwritten documents in a safety deposit box outlining her marital distress. The children also made concerning statements. Charles mentioned his mother went camping with them but did not return, and Braden drew a picture of 3 people in a car with, quote, "Mommy in the trunk." Further complicating the case was Joshua's father, Stephen Powell. Let's just say the apple didn't fall far from the tree with Joshua, as the elder Powell somehow manages to give Joshua a run for his money on the scumbag charts. In 2010, a search of Stephen's home revealed thousands of images of Susan taken without her knowledge, indicating an unhealthy obsession. Stephen was later arrested for unrelated charges of voyeurism and possession of the worst of illicit materials. Despite these developments, the investigation into Susan's disappearance stalled due to a lack of concrete evidence. In 2011, investigators discovered a potential grave site in Utah's West Desert, where Joshua had camped. Although they detected soil disturbances, no remains were found. Throughout this period, Joshua maintained his innocence, but refused to cooperate fully with authorities. Tragically, on February 5, 2012, Joshua committed yet another horrific act, somehow topping his previous depravities. During a supervised visit with his children, he locked out the social worker, incapacitated his sons with an axe, and set the house on fire, resulting in all three of them dying. This shocking event closed one chapter of the investigation, but left many questions unanswered about Susan's fate. Theories about Susan's disappearance abound. Some believe Joshua might have disposed of her body in a mine shaft, a theory supported by his previous comments on how to effectively hide a body. Despite extensive searches and investigations, Susan Powell's remains have never been found, and her case officially remains unsolved. If you have any information as to the whereabouts of Susan Powell, please reach out to the West Valley, Utah Police Department. The legend that Jesus Christ lived in Japan as a garlic farmer is one of the most fascinating and obscure tales in religious folklore. According to the myth, after narrowly escaping crucifixion, Jesus fled across Siberia to Japan, where he lived a long life under the name Daitenku Taro Jurai. The story centers around the village of Shingo in northern Japan, where locals claim that Jesus settled down, married a woman named Miyuko, and fathered 3 daughters. He is said to have lived as a humble garlic farmer, eventually dying at the age of 106. The origins of this legend are traced back to documents known as the Takenouchi documents, which were allegedly discovered in the 1930s. These documents, which have since been lost or destroyed, supposedly detailed Jesus' journey to Japan and his life there. According to the legend, during the time when the New Testament suggests Jesus was missing from the public eye, the so-called lost years, he was in Japan, learning about spirituality. After returning to Judea, he faced persecution, leading to his escape and eventual permanent settlement in Japan. The village of Shingo has embraced this legend, establishing a Tomb of Christ, which has become a tourist attraction. The tomb is said to contain not only Jesus' remains, but also a lock of hair from the Virgin Mary, and an ear of his brother Isukiri, who, according to the legend, was crucified in Jesus' place. And no need to backtrack, because you heard correctly. According to this legend, Jesus inexplicably had a half-Japanese brother. Despite the lack of historical evidence, the site holds significant cultural importance in the village, with annual rituals and a small museum dedicated to the legend. The tale of Jesus in Japan reflects the broader theme of religious syncretism in Japan, where elements of different religious traditions often blend into the local culture. The Shingo legend is a perfect example of how Japanese culture can integrate and reinterpret various religious narratives, making them part of a unique local tradition. This is the form of syncretism which allowed elements of Buddhism, Shintoism, Taoism, and Confucianism to mix freely without necessarily challenging the established religious doctrines. Notably, it is unclear if this quote-unquote holy garlic grown by Jesus had any specific properties differentiating it from your run-of-the-mill garlic. That said, I think it goes without saying that this garlic would be extra potent against vampires at the very least. The Missing Ghost Bomber of Pittsburgh. On January 31, 1956, an American B-25 Mitchell bomber crashed into the Monongahela River near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The B-25 departed from Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada, stopping at several bases en route to Olmsted Air Force Base in Pennsylvania. It was piloted by Major William Dotson and carried 5 other crew members: Captain John Jameson, Captain Steve Tabak, Staff Sergeant Walter Susi, Airman Second Class Charles Smith, and passengers Captain J.P. Ingraham and Sergeant Alfred Alement. On the final leg of its journey, the crew noticed an unusual drop in fuel levels and attempted to make an emergency landing at Greater Pittsburgh Airport, but ended up aiming for the Monongahela River. At approximately 4:11 p.m., both engines failed, and Major Dotson successfully executed a water landing in the river near the Homestead Grays Bridge. The plane floated for about 10 to 15 minutes, allowing 4 of the crew members to be rescued by a nearby riverboat. Unfortunately, Captain Ingram and Staff Sergeant Susi attempted to swim to shore, but did not survive the attempt. The U.S. Coast Guard and the Army Corps of Engineers conducted a 2-week search operation involving dredging and diving, yet no trace of the aircraft was found. The salvage rights were eventually sold to a local seaplane pilot, but further efforts also failed to locate the bomber. Some speculate that the aircraft was carrying top-secret cargo, such as nuclear materials or even a UFO, and was covertly removed by the military. Others believe the bomber was buried in a deep gravel pit or eroded by the polluted waters of the Monongahela River. One plausible theory suggests the aircraft was swallowed by a deep hole in the riverbed created by the Dravo Corporation during the 1950s. Over the years, this hole may have filled with silt, further burying the plane. Despite using modern sonar technology and remote-controlled cameras, the B-25 Recovery Group, formed in 1995, has yet to find the plane, although they continue to search. Eyewitnesses reported seeing the plane crash, and some claim to have seen it being pulled from the river late at night, suggesting a possible cover-up. These accounts, combined with the lack of physical evidence, have perpetuated the mystery and numerous conspiracy theories. This was a suggestion made a number of months ago by subscriber jhaim85. If you have a suggestion for this series, please leave a comment or join the Discord and leave the suggestion there. In the fall of 2001, the United States experienced a series of anthrax attacks, often referred to as Amerithrax, which compounded the national anxiety already heightened by 9/11. The anthrax letters were first mailed on September 18, 2001, targeting media outlets and political figures. These attacks resulted in 22 anthrax infections, with 11 of those being the more severe inhalational variety, leading to the demise of 5 individuals. The letters containing anthrax spores were sent to several locations, including NBC News, the New York Post, and the offices of Senators Tom Daschle and Patrick Leahy. The Daschle letter, opened on October 15th, led to the temporary shutdown of government mail services due to the threat it posed. These letters were found to contain anthrax spores in a highly refined dry powder form, though there were conflicting reports on whether the spores were weaponized. Initial suspicion fell on foreign actors, given the timing and content of the letters, which included phrases associated with Al-Qaeda. However, the FBI soon redirected its focus to domestic sources when it was determined that the anthrax originated from an American laboratory. An American bioweapons expert was the first major suspect, and in a moment you'll see why I've chosen not to give his name. The FBI's intense investigation into this individual included surveillance and multiple invasive searches. He was eventually completely exonerated and won a substantial settlement from the U.S. government for defamation. Attention then turned to Dr. Bruce Ivins, another scientist at the U.S. Army Medical Research Institute of Infectious Diseases. The FBI linked Ivins to the anthrax used in the attacks, based on his access to the strain and other circumstantial evidence. Ivins' behavior during the investigation, including his hospitalization for mental health issues, raised further suspicion. He passed away in 2008, and shortly afterward, the FBI declared Ivins the sole perpetrator, although this conclusion has been contested by various experts and studies since then. Despite the closure of the case, numerous questions and theories about the attacks remain. Some believe that Ivans could not have acted alone due to the complexity of producing the highly refined anthrax spores. This theory posits that other individuals with similar expertise and access to the laboratory might have been involved. Supporters of this theory argue that the FBI's investigation overlooked potential collaborators and relied too heavily on circumstantial evidence against Ivans. Several scientific and investigative bodies, including the National Academy of Sciences, have criticized the FBI's methods and conclusions. They argue that the scientific evidence linking Ivans to the anthrax was not conclusive and flawed. Some suggest that Ivan's mental health struggles were exacerbated by the intense pressure of the investigation, possibly leading to his demise. A Government Accountability Office report also highlighted deficiencies in the FBI's investigative techniques, casting further doubt on the official narrative. Another theory suggests that the anthrax attacks were part of a larger government conspiracy to push for stricter bioterrorism laws and increased funding for biodefense. Proponents of this theory highlight the timing of the attacks, suggesting it was used to justify the Patriot Act and other security measures. Hey everyone, it's Jimmy taking a few seconds to promote my work once again. Remember to like and subscribe, and also share this video with your friends and family. The Coca-Cola formula. Coca-Cola was invented in 1886 by Dr. John Pemberton, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. Initially, Pemberton was known for a different mixture called Pemberton's French Wine Coca, a tonic that combined coca leaf extract and wine. However, with the introduction of prohibition laws in Atlanta, Pemberton was forced to reformulate his product, removing the alcohol but retaining the coca leaf extract. This was later paired with caffeine-rich cola nut extract. Thus, Coca-Cola was born as a non-alcoholic beverage, marketed as a medicinal tonic. The formula for Coca-Cola has been heavily shrouded in secrecy from its inception. After Pemberton's death in 1888, the formula was sold to Asa Candler, who emphasized the secrecy of the recipe as a marketing strategy. It is said that the formula is known only to a few trusted individuals within the company, with the recipe kept under tight security at a vault in the World of Coca-Cola Museum. Despite numerous claims and supposed leaks over the years, the exact composition of Coca-Cola remains unknown to the public. The most famous supposed ingredient is merchandise 7X, a mysterious flavoring agent that is said to be the key to Coca-Cola's unique taste. According to various reports, merchandise 7X includes a blend of essential oils such as orange, lemon, nutmeg, and others, but the precise recipe and proportions are still a matter of speculation. One of the most persistent myths is that only 2 Coca-Cola executives have the quote keys to the formula, with each knowing only half of it to prevent either from revealing the entire recipe. While this makes for a compelling story, it's more likely part of Coca-Cola's extensive marketing mythology than a practical business strategy. In 2011, the radio show This American Life claimed to have discovered the original recipe, published in an old issue of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. While the recipe they found included ingredients like caffeine, vanilla, and citric acid, Coca-Cola swiftly dismissed the claim, maintaining that the real formula remains a secret. One of the most controversial aspects of Coca-Cola's history is its original inclusion of Coke, derived from the coca leaf. This ingredient was present in the formula until 1903, when public concern and evolving drug regulations forced the company to remove it. Despite the removal of Coke from Coke over a century ago, this fact continues to fuel debates and contributes to the drink's history. The secrecy surrounding the Coca-Cola formula has also led to dramatic episodes of corporate espionage. In 2006, a former Coca-Cola employee attempted to sell confidential information about a new product to PepsiCo. PepsiCo promptly alerted Coca-Cola about the attempt, leading to an FBI sting operation that resulted in the arrest of the individuals involved. Also, just a quick aside. Talk about drinking the advertising Kool-Aid. This guy seems like the sort of person who would conduct a citizen's arrest on the Hamburglar if given the opportunity. Karakoto, often referred to as the Black City, is located in the Gobi Desert within the Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region of China. It was established in 1032 AD by the Tangut people, a Tibeto-Burman ethnic group, as part of the Western Xia dynasty, which ran from 1038 to 1227 AD. The city's strategic location made it a significant stop along the Silk Road, connecting traders from the east and west. Encircled by formidable 9-meter-high walls, Karakoto was built to endure the harsh conditions of the Gobi Desert and to protect its inhabitants from invasions. Under the rule of the Western Xia dynasty, the city thrived. It became a melting pot of cultures, languages, and religions, with influences from Buddhism, Islam, and Nestorian Christianity. Art, education, and commerce flourished within its walls, making it a vital hub for the exchange of goods such as silk, porcelain, and spices. In 1226 AD, Karakoto fell to the Mongol Empire under the command of Genghis Khan. Unlike many other cities that faced total destruction at the hands of the Mongols, Karakoto was spared and even flourished under Mongol administration. It remained a vital trading post, and its cultural significance continued to grow. Notably, the famous Venetian traveler Marco Polo mentioned Karakoto, referring to it as Etsina in his accounts. However, the decline of Karakoto began in the late 14th century during the Ming dynasty's campaigns to consolidate control over northern China. According to historical records, the Ming army laid siege to the city in 1372 AD, cutting off its water supply by diverting the Aegean River, which was crucial for the city's survival. This led to severe drought within the city walls. One popular legend suggests that the city's last ruler, Karabator, took drastic measures during this desperate time, ultimately leading to the abandonment of the city. Another version of the story claims that Karabator managed to escape through a breach in the city walls, although the details remain unclear. Following the siege, the city was deserted and gradually consumed by the shifting sands of the Gobi Desert, erasing it from memory for centuries. Karakoto remained lost to history until the early 20th century, when Russian explorer Pyotr Kozlov stumbled upon its ruins during an expedition in 1908. Kozlov's discovery included a wealth of artifacts such as manuscripts, Buddhist paintings, and everyday items that provided valuable insights into the life and culture of the Tangut people. Many of these artifacts are now housed in museums across Russia, including the Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg. Subsequent expeditions by various international teams throughout the 20th century continued to unearth significant finds, including manuscripts in the now extinct Tangut language. These discoveries have been instrumental in piecing together the history of Karakoto and the Tangut civilization. The Icy Hot Stuntas. Originating in the early 2000s, this group from Toccoa, Georgia, became an accidental icon of early internet culture. The Icy Hot Stuntas consisted of 3 members, Freeze, Blade, and Da Flame. These young men, inspired by the flashy, ostentatious style of popular rap groups of the time, decided to create their own music and persona. They constructed a website on GeoCities, a popular platform at the time, to promote their music and lifestyle. The site was filled with photos of the trio posing in front of cars, sporting oversized jewelry, and wearing exaggerated hip-hop fashion. The tagline of the site was, "Don't hate, appreciate," a phrase that would become synonymous with the group itself. The content on their website, which was meant to establish their presence in the music industry, quickly became the subject of widespread ridicule. Their attempts at emulating the hip hop lifestyle were seen as inauthentic and laughable, particularly because the group members were middle class white teenagers from suburban Georgia. This incongruity between their appearance and their aspirations turned the Icy Hot Stuntas into a meme, long before the term meme had entered common usage. The trio's website was widely shared across forums and email chains, often accompanied by mockery and derisive commentary. What made the Icy Hot Stuntas a particularly interesting case was their outward appearance of a complete and utter lack of self awareness. Unlike modern internet personalities, who often play into their own parody, the Stuntas seemed entirely sincere in their efforts to break into the hip hop scene. This sincerity only amplified the humor found in their attempts at stardom. For instance, the group's photos, which were supposed to exude a sense of coolness and street credibility, instead came off as poorly staged and awkward. The group was often pictured in their parents' driveways next to average cars, rather than the luxury vehicles that were synonymous with the image they tried to adopt. Early forums and websites like Something Awful and Fark picked up on the Stuntas, using their images in a plethora of Photoshop edits and meme creations. Interestingly, while the group eventually faded from the spotlight, at least one member, Brian Edmonds, who was known as Da Flame, continued to pursue a career in rap. Edmonds rebranded himself as B-Shock, a Christian rapper, and built a following within that niche. Notably, B-Shock has achieved legitimate success as an underground Christian rapper, with his song The Jesus Lean achieving almost 1 million views on YouTube. Two mysteries surround the Icy Hot Stuntas. The first and perhaps most obvious is whether the members of the group themselves were actually as sincere as they appeared, or whether the entire thing was intended to be taken as parody. Perhaps the public just wasn't ready for three middle-class rural white kids rapping about their supposed ghetto life over trap beats in 2001. Or perhaps they realized they couldn't rap over the trap beats' average homeboy style and reach an audience. The biggest mystery surrounding the Icy Hot Stuntas is their lost discography. Notably, only 2 of their songs have been found at present and have been confirmed to be real. B-Shock, the one member of the group that continues to maintain a public profile, refuses to answer any questions whatsoever about the Icy Hot Stuntas. As such, until the other remaining members break their silence and come forward with their lost tracks, this mystery will likely remain unresolved. My audience has grown fairly large at this point, so I'm going to throw this out there. If you know any members of the Icy Hot Stuntas, please send me an email and we can discuss how I can get in touch with them to solve this mystery. You can reach me at the business email noted in my profile. Octopuses are some of the most mysterious and fascinating creatures in the ocean. They have played central roles in myth, science, and popular culture. First, it's essential to clarify a common misconception. Octopuses do not technically have tentacles, but arms. All 8 of their appendages are classified as arms because they are covered with suckers along their entire length, unlike tentacles, which usually have suckers only at their tips, as seen in squids. These arms are incredibly versatile, capable of complex movements, thanks to their muscular structure known as muscular hydrostats, which allows them to elongate, contract, and bend in any direction. This flexibility is what enables octopuses to navigate tight spaces, manipulate objects, and even walk on land. The octopus has long been a subject of fascination, often depicted in mythology and folklore. In ancient times, octopuses were considered monsters of the deep. For example, the kraken, a legendary sea monster said to dwell off the coast of Norway and Greenland, is often described as an enormous octopus-like creature that could drag entire ships down to the depths. This depiction of the octopus as a fearsome sea monster has persisted into modern times, influencing everything from literature to Hollywood films. One of the intriguing aspects of octopus arms is their ability to move even after being severed from the body. This phenomenon has puzzled scientists for years. The secret lies in the structure of the octopus's arm muscles, which store energy in the form of adenosine triphosphate. This allows the arms to continue moving for a short period after being detached from the body. Additionally, the suckers on the arms have their own set of muscles, which can contract and expand independently, contributing to the post-mortem movements. Another mystery involves the octopus's ability to regenerate lost arms. If an octopus loses an arm, it can regrow it over time. This regenerative ability is not just about replacing lost limbs, it also involves the restoration of complex neural networks that allow the arm to function just as well as the original. Octopus arms are not just about movement and manipulation, they are also sensory organs. Each arm contains about 2/3 of the octopus's neurons, allowing it to taste, touch, and even think with its arms. This decentralized nervous system means that each arm can operate semi-independently, which is why an octopus can perform multiple tasks simultaneously. This allows the octopus to pry open a shell with one arm while exploring its surroundings and remaining alert with another arm. Another interesting fact is that octopuses have a unique form of locomotion. While they are capable swimmers, they often prefer crawling, using their arms to pull themselves along the ocean floor. This method is less exhausting for them because one of their 3 hearts stops beating when they swim, which limits their oxygen supply. There are many stories about the behavior of octopuses that continue to fuel our fascination. For instance, octopuses are known escape artists. They can squeeze through incredibly tight spaces, often escaping from aquariums or containers in what seems like a well-thought-out plan. Their problem-solving skills are so advanced that they can unscrew jars to get to food inside, showing a level of intelligence that is rare among invertebrates. One of the more mysterious occurrences involving octopuses happened in 2017, when more than 20 octopuses were seen crawling onto a beach in Wales. This behavior was highly unusual, as octopuses can survive on land for only a few minutes. The reasons behind this mass stranding remain unclear, with theories ranging from disorientation caused by storms to unknown environmental factors. One fringe theory even proposes that octopuses may not be of earthly origin. One of the most interesting arguments for the alien origin theory is the distinct genetic makeup of octopuses. The octopus genome is incredibly complex, with over 33,000 protein-coding genes, more than is found in humans. This vast genetic diversity has led some to speculate that octopuses might not be entirely of this world. The idea is that their genetic makeup could be the result of panspermia. This is a hypothesis that suggests life, or the precursors of life, can be distributed throughout the universe via meteoroids, asteroids, and other celestial bodies. This could imply that the octopus's ancestors may have arrived on Earth via such means millions of years ago. While this theory remains speculative and has been rejected by mainstream science, it remains fascinating nonetheless. Atomic weapons are fake. According to proponents of this theory, the narrative of the atomic bomb is a fabrication designed to instill fear, control populations, and justify government spending on alleged nuclear arsenals. The theory posits that the creation of nuclear weapons was a political tool rather than a scientific breakthrough. The existence of nuclear arsenals, the arms race, and the concept of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, are viewed by theorists as mechanisms for maintaining global power structures. The production and stockpiling of nuclear weapons, they argue, serve as justification for massive military budgets, which are actually funneled into the pockets of the elite. The theory questions the authenticity of the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the existence of nuclear weapons, and the various nuclear tests purportedly conducted over the decades. The origins of the atomic bomb hoax theory can be traced back to the skepticism and paranoia that arose during the Cold War. The secrecy surrounding nuclear programs and the devastating potential of nuclear weapons contributed to a fertile ground for conspiracy theories. These doubts were exacerbated by the government's tight control over information, leading some to speculate that nuclear weapons were nothing more than props in a psychological warfare campaign. One of the core elements of the theory is the claim that the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki were either exaggerated or entirely fabricated. Some theorists argue that the destruction seen in Hiroshima and Nagasaki was the result of conventional bombings rather than nuclear explosions. They cite the absence of any surviving photographs or videos clearly showing the moment of detonation, as well as the rapid recovery of the cities, as evidence supporting their claims. Additionally, some theorists suggest that the iconic mushroom cloud images associated with atomic bombs could have been created using conventional explosives. Another critical aspect of the hoax theory revolves around the Trinity test, the first detonation of a nuclear weapon in July 1945 in New Mexico. Theorists claim that the test was staged, and the so-called nuclear explosion was actually a large conventional explosion. They argue that the secrecy surrounding the event, the controlled access to information, and the government's narrative are all indicative of a cover-up. The involvement of key figures such as J. Robert Oppenheimer and General Leslie Groves in the Manhattan Project is also seen as a calculated move to lend credibility to the hoax. Central to the atomic bomb hoax theory is the belief that governments, particularly the United States, have manipulated the media and public perception to maintain the illusion of nuclear weapons. The theory suggests that the media's portrayal of nuclear tests, such as those conducted at Bikini Atoll during Operation Crossroads, was carefully orchestrated. The footage of these tests, the theory claims, was either doctored or completely staged to convince the world of the bomb's existence and power. Additionally, the theory asserts that the scientific community has been complicit in the deception, either through direct involvement or by remaining silent. The fear of government retaliation or loss of funding is cited as reasons why scientists have not come forward to expose the alleged hoax. The anti-nuclear movement and other similar efforts are dismissed by theorists as controlled opposition meant to perpetuate the illusion of a global nuclear threat. Under this theory, the anti-nuclear movement simply exists to make atomic weaponry and nuclear power look more dangerous than it actually is. Notably, this is a theory which has been gaining in popularity in recent years. The Mokumokuren is a yokai from Japanese folklore, known for its distinctive manifestation as ghostly eyes that appear within the torn or damaged shoji, better known as traditional Japanese sliding paper doors. The appearance of the Mokumokuren is extremely simple yet terrifying all the same. It manifests as a multitude of eyes embedded in ripped shoji screens, with each eye varying in color and size to fill in the ripped holes. These eyes are often depicted as having red, blue, or green irises with black pupils. The image of being constantly watched by these disembodied eyes contributes to the Mokumokuren's reputation as a harbinger of unease and fear. The term Mokumokuren literally translates to many eyes or continuous eyes, a fitting description given its unsettling appearance. The Mokumokuren is believed to originate from ancient tales that highlight the importance of maintaining one's home, particularly the shoji, in good condition. According to one story, a stingy merchant who sought to save money by staying in an abandoned, dilapidated house instead of an inn encountered the Mokumokuren. In the dead of night, he awoke to find that the holes in the shoji were filled with multiple eyes staring at him. Instead of fleeing in terror, he collected the eyes and sold them to an eye surgeon, profiting from the supernatural encounter. While this story may be a classic tale of turning lemons into lemonade, the presence of the Mokumokuren in a home is typically seen as a bad omen. This yokai can also merge with other objects, such as walls or tatami mats, blending seamlessly into its surroundings. Some legends even suggest that this yokai has the power to possess humans, causing them to act strangely or become ill or grow eyes on their body. Despite this, the Mokumokuren is generally seen as more mischievous than malevolent, preferring to scare rather than directly harm humans. Modern sightings of this yokai are rare, but they are still reported to occur. Some theorists have suggested that the creature is in decline because shoji, the traditional Japanese paper doors, have been in sharp decline over the last century and a half. More skeptical minds believe that the creature never existed, but was caused by natural phenomenon such as poor visibility and low light, combined with poorly maintained shoji. Theft of the Mona Lisa. The Mona Lisa, also known as La Gioconda, was painted by Leonardo da Vinci between 1503 and 1506. The painting's fame began to rise in the 19th century, partly due to its mysterious subject, widely believed to be Lisa Gherardini, a woman from Florence. On August 21, 1911, the Mona Lisa was stolen from the Louvre in Paris. The painting, by Leonardo da Vinci, was relatively well known in art circles, but not the global icon it is today. The theft was carried out by Vincenzo Peruggia, an Italian handyman who had worked at the museum. Peruggia managed to pull off the heist with surprising ease. Disguised in the white smock worn by museum employees, he removed the painting from its display, hid it under his clothes, and simply walked out of the museum. The theft went unnoticed for more than 24 hours. It wasn't until an artist who had come to paint the Mona Lisa's portrait noticed the empty space on the wall that the alarm was raised. By then, Peruggia had already stashed the painting in a trunk in his Paris apartment. The media frenzy that followed the theft transformed the Mona Lisa into a worldwide sensation. The French police, desperate to solve the crime, interrogated several suspects, including the avant-garde poet Guillaume Apollinaire and the artist Pablo Picasso. Both men were eventually released without charge. The search for the painting stretched on for 2 years, with rumors and theories swirling about its whereabouts. In 1913, Peruggia, perhaps growing anxious or simply in need of money, attempted to sell the painting to an art dealer in Florence, Italy. Claiming he had stolen the painting to return it to Italy as a patriotic act, Peruggia was arrested after the painting was authenticated by experts. His trial was brief, and he received a relatively light sentence, serving just 7 months in jail. Many in Italy regarded him as a hero for his actions, despite the questionable motives that seemed to mix patriotism with a desire for financial gain. There are several theories about why Peruggia stole the Mona Lisa. Peruggia claimed he was motivated by patriotism, believing the painting should be returned to Italy, but this story has been questioned. Some letters he wrote to his father suggest he hoped to profit significantly from the theft, indicating that money might have been a primary motivator. Another theory, which emerged years later, posits that the theft was masterminded by an Argentine con man, Eduardo de Valfierno, who planned to sell forged copies of the painting. This con man was said to be planning to sell these forged copies as the original many times over, while keeping the missing original. However, this theory is based solely on a 1932 article with no external confirmation. There are also inconsistencies in the accounts of how Peruggia stole the painting. While Peruggia claimed he simply walked out with the Mona Lisa, some experts have questioned this version of events, finding it hard to believe. Moreover, there are suggestions that Peruggia may have had an accomplice, although no solid evidence has ever been presented to confirm this. The return of the Mona Lisa to the Louvre on January 4, 1914, was celebrated worldwide and the painting's fame skyrocketed. Today, the Mona Lisa is one of the most recognized and visited artworks globally, in large part due to the notoriety it gained from the theft. The painting is now displayed in the Louvre under heavy security, protected by bulletproof glass, a reminder of the many threats it has faced over the years. The Dirawong is a creature from the mythology of the Bundjalung people, an indigenous Australian group from northern New South Wales. Unlike many cryptids, which are often creatures of mystery and fear, the Dirawong occupies a role of protection and guidance within the spiritual and cultural life of the Bundjalung. The Dirawong is commonly depicted as a goanna, a large lizard native to Australia, and is considered both a spiritual and physical being with great spiritual significance. The Dirawong is credited with teaching humans various essential survival skills, including knowledge of bush foods and medicines, cultural practices, and rituals. A central story in Dirawong mythology involves a conflict with another significant figure in Aboriginal mythology, the rainbow serpent. The rainbow serpent is a powerful and often feared entity associated with creation, but also with destruction. According to the mythology, the Dirawong and the rainbow serpent engaged in a cosmic battle that shaped the landscape of the Bundjalung territory. For instance, the serpentine movements of the rainbow serpent are said to have created rivers and other natural features. On the other hand, the Dirawong's actions ensured the protection of the people from the serpent's more destructive tendencies. The Bundjalung people have made significant efforts to protect and preserve the sacred sites associated with the Dirawong, recognizing its importance to the culture. These sites, such as Goanna Headland, also known as the Dirawong Reserve, are unique in that they preserve the territory associated with what could be classified as a cryptid. This was a suggestion from Discord community member Orc Lord Dave. Girolamo Segato. Girolamo Segato was an Italian polymath born in 1792 in the Carthusian monastery of Vedana, located in northern Italy. His interests spanned various fields, including natural sciences, cartography, Egyptology, and anatomy. However, Segato is most famously known for his mysterious and unparalleled technique of artificially petrifying human remains. Segato's journey into the world of mummification began during his archaeological expeditions to Egypt in 1818. These experiences deeply influenced his later work, leading him to develop a method of preservation that went beyond traditional mummification techniques. Upon his return to Florence in 1823, Segato began experimenting with a unique process that effectively mineralized organic tissue, preserving it with remarkable detail and durability. His method allowed the preserved tissues to retain their original color, texture, and even cellular structure, an achievement that was both unprecedented and baffling to his contemporaries. One of the most notable aspects of Segato's work was his ability to turn biological material into a stone-like substance. This process, often referred to as petrification, was so effective that the preserved specimens, ranging from human organs to entire body parts, could be cut, polished, and used in various forms. A table in the royal palace of Caserta, for example, was crafted using this technique and remains a testament to Segato's enigmatic skills. Despite the groundbreaking nature of his work, Segato was highly secretive about his methods. He never documented the exact process, and all of his notes were destroyed before his passing in 1836. This decision has led to widespread speculation about the origins and nature of his technique. Some contemporaries and later commentators speculated that Segato might have tapped into ancient Egyptian magic, a belief that only deepened the mystery surrounding his work. One of the few detailed accounts of Segato's work comes from the American surgeon Valentine Mott, who visited Segato in Florence. Mott was astonished by Sagato's ability to petrify organic materials, describing the results as nothing short of miraculous. Mott invited Sagato to the United States to demonstrate his process, but Sagato initially declined, and then reportedly demanded an exorbitant fee. Soon after, Mott received news that Sagato had passed away, taking the secrets of his technique with him to the grave. Sagato's legacy is preserved in the remnants of his work that survive today, primarily housed in the Museum of the Department of Anatomy in Florence. His tombstone in the Basilica of Santa Croce bears a poignant inscription that reflects the tragic loss of his knowledge. Quote, "Here lies decayed Girolamo Sagato from Belluno, who could have been totally petrified if his art had not died with him." Sulfur was first detected on Mars through various space missions, with NASA's rovers playing a critical role in uncovering its presence. The recent discovery of pure sulfur crystals by the Curiosity rover in 2024 has reignited interest in the element. This accidental find occurred when Curiosity, while navigating the Gades Vallis Channel on Mount Sharp, crushed a rock, revealing bright yellow sulfur crystals. These crystals were found in a region rich with sulfates, which are salts containing sulfur, suggesting a history of evaporating water bodies that left these minerals behind. Mars is known to be a sulfur-rich planet, with the element found in various forms across its surface. This abundance of sulfur has significant implications for understanding Mars' geological processes, particularly its volcanic and hydrothermal activities. Sulfur compounds found in Martian rocks and meteorites point to a time when the planet was geologically active, with volcanoes likely spewing sulfur into the atmosphere. The discovery of sulfur on Mars is not just a curiosity, it's a clue to the planet's past. On Earth, sulfur is often associated with hydrothermal systems, where it is a byproduct of volcanic activity. These environments, such as those found around deep-sea hydrothermal vents, are teeming with life, primarily because sulfur compounds can be used as an energy source by certain microorganisms. This has led scientists to hypothesize that similar environments could have existed on ancient Mars, possibly providing the necessary conditions for life. One prevailing theory suggests that Mars had a warm and wet period during the Noachian era, approximately 4.1 to 3.7 billion years ago. During this time, volcanic activity and liquid water were likely prevalent, creating an environment where sulfur could have played a significant role in the planet's chemistry. The presence of sulfur compounds, particularly in the form of sulfates, indicates that Mars may have experienced significant water-related processes. These processes, such as evaporation and precipitation, could have concentrated these minerals in specific areas. Despite these discoveries, many mysteries remain at present. The formation of pure sulfur crystals, like those found by Curiosity, is particularly puzzling. Scientists are still trying to determine the exact processes that led to the formation of these crystals on Mars, with some speculating that ancient hydrothermal systems could be the answer. The role of sulfur in potentially sustaining life on Mars is another area of active research. Studies of terrestrial analogs, Earth environments that resemble conditions on ancient Mars, have shown that sulfur-metabolizing bacteria could thrive in such settings. These microbes use sulfur compounds as an energy source, a process that could have been mirrored on Mars if similar organisms ever existed there. While sulfur alone does not confirm the existence of life, it adds weight to the hypothesis that Mars might have been habitable in the distant past. Some researchers believe that microbial life could have used sulfur compounds to generate energy, much like some bacteria do on Earth today. The Hands Resist Him. The Hands Resist Him is a genuinely creepy painting painted by Bill Stoneham in 1972. The artwork depicts a young boy standing beside a doll-like figure in front of a glass door, with ghostly hands pressing against the glass from the other side. The painting's unsettling nature and mysterious history have led many to believe it is haunted, earning it the nickname eBay's Haunted Painting, after it was listed on the online auction site in 2000. Notably, the painting isn't intended to be scary, despite its clearly disturbing appearance. Bill Stoneham, the artist behind The Hands Resist Him, drew inspiration from an old photograph of himself at age 5, standing with a neighborhood friend in front of a door. The painting's title comes from a poem written by Stoneham's first wife, Roanne Ponseti, which explores themes of hidden identities and subconscious fears. According to Stoneham, the hands in the painting represent other lives or alternate possibilities, while the glass door symbolizes the thin barrier between the conscious and unconscious realms. The doll is intended as a guide to the dream world, adding to the painting's layered symbolism. The painting's reputation as a haunted object began when it was listed on eBay in February 2000. The sellers claimed that the painting was cursed, stating that the figures within it would move during the night and even leave the canvas. These claims were accompanied by photographs, which allegedly captured the doll figure holding some sort of weapon. The listing quickly went viral, attracting over 30,000 views and spawning countless stories and memes. The painting eventually sold for $1,025 to Kim Smith, owner of Perception Gallery in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Stories about the painting's supernatural qualities spread rapidly. Some people claim to feel ill or anxious just by viewing images of it online. Others reported strange occurrences, such as fainting or hearing disembodied voices, after encountering the painting in person or on their screens. These accounts have helped cement The Hands Resist Him as one of the most infamous haunted objects in internet lore. The dark reputation of the painting brought Stoneham unexpected fame. Over the years, he has created several quote-unquote sequels to the original. These include Resistance at the Threshold from 2004 and Threshold of Revelation from 2012, which further explore the themes and characters introduced in the original work. Stoneham has often expressed surprise at the painting's notoriety and the paranormal interpretations it has inspired, viewing it instead as an exploration of human psychology. Today, The Hands Resist Him remains in the possession of the Perception Gallery. Let me know what you think about this painting in the comments. Personally, I find it completely unnerving, and if Bill Stoneham's account is true, it is likely one of the most unintentionally creepy paintings I've ever seen. Peking Man, a crucial discovery in the history of human evolution, was found in the Zhoukoudian cave system near Beijing during the 1920s and 1930s. These fossils, dubbed Peking Man, have become one of the most significant paleoanthropological finds. The first discovery at Zhoukoudian was made in 1921 when a human tooth was unearthed by Austrian paleontologist Otto Zadansky. Further excavations revealed an array of fossils, including skull fragments, jaws, and limb bones, belonging to more than 40 individuals. These remains were eventually classified as Homo erectus pekinensis, a subspecies of Homo erectus that lived roughly between 200 and 800,000 years ago. These fossils showed that Peking Man had a brain capacity smaller than modern humans, but larger than earlier hominids. The Zhoukoudian site yielded over 100,000 stone tools, evidence of fire use, and possible signs of communal living. These findings suggested that Peking Man was a hunter-gatherer with the ability to adapt to the harsh conditions of northern China during the glacial periods. Despite ongoing debates, it is widely believed that these early humans had some form of social structure and were capable of controlling fire. In 1941, With the Japanese invasion of China escalating, there was a growing concern for the safety of the Peking man fossils. American and Chinese scientists decided to transport the fossils to the United States for safekeeping. They packed the fossils into two large crates, which were supposed to be shipped from the Marine base at Qinhuangdao to the U.S. Unfortunately, the crates disappeared en route, and their fate has remained one of the great mysteries in the field of paleoanthropology. Multiple theories have surfaced over the years. One suggests that the crates were lost at sea after the ship transporting them was sunk by a submarine. Another posits that the crates were captured by Japanese soldiers, and the bones either destroyed or lost in the chaos of war. Yet another theory, spurred by an account from the son of a U.S. Marine, suggests that the bones may still be buried beneath a parking lot in Qinhuangdao. The Peking man fossil's disappearance has led to a slew of investigations, some involving official agencies like the FBI, and others taking more unconventional routes, such as employing psychics. Despite numerous expeditions and studies, the actual location of the fossils remains unknown. The Seabird. The Seabird, often referred to as a ghost ship, was a merchant brig under the command of Captain John Huxham, or perhaps John Durham, as some sources indicate. On an ordinary day in 1750, the Seabird was spotted drifting near Easton's Beach in Rhode Island. Witnesses on shore observed that the ship seemed eerily deserted, with no crew visible on deck. Despite the vessel's perilous proximity to shore, it managed to beach itself gently without sustaining significant damage. Upon boarding, those who investigated the ship found it in an unusual state. A meal was set on the table, a kettle was boiling on the stove, and the ship's log indicated everything had been normal up until that point. Yet there was no sign of the crew, except for a dog and a cat left behind. The disappearance of the crew has been the subject of much speculation. Some theories suggest that the crew might have left the ship in a hurry due to some unforeseen danger, possibly thinking they were close enough to shore to swim to safety. However, the calm weather conditions and the state of the ship suggest that no immediate threat was apparent, leaving the true reason for their departure unknown. Adding to the mystery, there are accounts of the Seabird vanishing after it was beached. It is said that shortly after its grounding, a storm hit the area, and when it cleared, the ship was gone, along with any hopes of uncovering what truly happened. This sudden disappearance has fueled the legend of the Seabird, turning it into one of the earliest ghost ship stories on the American coast. Another mystery surrounding this story is whether it is indeed just that, a fictional story. Notably, all recovered sources related to this ship come from decades after, and sources do not seem to agree on a number of material facts. This has led skeptics to believe the story may be fictional. The Roman dodecahedron is a mysterious artifact dating back to the 2nd to 5th centuries AD. Over 130 of these objects have been found across Europe, particularly in regions that were part of the Roman Empire, such as modern-day France, Germany, and Britain. Despite their widespread discovery, no historical records or writings mention their existence or purpose, leaving historians and archaeologists to speculate about their use. A Roman dodecahedron is a hollow, 12-sided object, typically made from bronze or other copper alloys. Each of its pentagonal faces has a circular hole in the center, with the size of the holes varying across the faces. Additionally, each vertex of the pentagon is adorned with a small knob. These dodecahedrons range in size, with some being as small as a golf ball, while others are closer to the size of a baseball. Despite their simple appearance, these artifacts were crafted with considerable skill, indicating that they were valued in their time. Theories about their purpose abound, but none have been definitively proven. One popular theory suggests that they were used as surveying instruments, possibly to measure distances or angles. This idea stems from the geometric precision of the objects and the varying sizes of the holes, which some researchers believe could have been used to align with specific objects at a distance. However, the lack of standardization across the dodecahedrons, no two are exactly alike, casts doubt on this theory. Another theory proposes that the dodecahedrons were used as astronomical devices, potentially for determining the best time to plant crops by measuring the angle of sunlight. The holes might have been used to observe the sun's position, functioning as a primitive calendar. This would align with the agricultural needs of the time, but again, there is no concrete evidence to support this hypothesis. Some have speculated that these objects had a more ceremonial or religious purpose, given that many have been found in or near sites that were significant in Roman or Gallo-Roman religious practices, such as temples and other sacred locations. It's possible that they were used in rituals. This theory is bolstered by the elaborate craftsmanship of the dodecahedrons, which suggests that they were more than just utilitarian objects. In more practical terms, some researchers believe that the dodecahedrons could have been used as tools for everyday tasks, such as knitting. One theory suggests that the objects could have been used to create gloves, with the holes guiding the placement of fingers and the knobs holding the yarn in place. While this idea gained some traction after a successful experiment with a 3D printed replica, the theory is limited by the fact that no ancient texts or images support the idea of knitting in this way. Interestingly, the geographical distribution of the dodecahedrons adds another layer to the mystery. None have been found in the heartlands of the Roman Empire, such as Italy, but rather in the outer regions, often where the Romans interacted with other cultures, such as the Celts. This might suggest that the dodecahedrons had a specific cultural significance in these regions, or were used in ways that were not common in other parts of the empire. Howard Menger is known for his extraordinary claims of contact with extraterrestrials, largely of Venusian origin. Born in 1922 in Hunterdon County, New Jersey, Menger's story began when he was just 10 years old. He claimed to have encountered a beautiful blonde woman in the woods near his home, who revealed herself to be a Venusian, an inhabitant of Venus. This was the first of many alleged encounters with extraterrestrials that Menger would report throughout his life. Menger's claims gained widespread attention in the 1950s, during a period when the American public was becoming increasingly fascinated with UFOs and the possibility of alien life. His stories included not just sightings, but also physical encounters with extraterrestrials, who he said were human-like and benevolent. These beings, according to Menger, were concerned with humanity's use of nuclear weapons and the potential for self-destruction, a common theme among UFO contactee narratives of the time. One of the intriguing aspects of Menger's story is his claim of being taken aboard a flying saucer. In August 1956, he reported that he was invited aboard a spacecraft where he was shown alien civilizations on other planets and structures on the moon. Another curious figure associated with Menger is Valiant Thor, who supposedly visited Menger's farm in High Bridge, New Jersey. Valiant Thor claimed to be a Venusian on a mission to prevent nuclear war on Earth. His story was later popularized by Dr. Frank Stranges, who claimed to have met Thor and continued to disseminate his message. Valiant Thor's tale, much like Menger's, is a blend of the mysterious and the fantastical, leaving many to wonder about the truth behind these extraordinary claims. Menger's personal life also intertwined with his extraterrestrial encounters. He met a woman named Connie Weber, whom he believed to be the reincarnation of a Venusian he had known in a previous life. The two married and together became prominent figures on the UFO lecture circuit. They even produced an album titled authentic music from another planet, which they claimed was inspired by their otherworldly experience. In 1959, Menger published his book, which detailed his experiences and the messages he claimed to have received from his extraterrestrial contacts. However, by 1960, Menger made a surprising move. He recanted many of his claims during a television appearance, stating that he had been part of a government experiment. This experiment, he alleged, was to test public reaction to potential alien contact. This admission cast a shadow of doubt over his previous assertions, but Menger later retracted this recantation, leaving the true nature of his experiences a mystery. Menger's legacy in the UFO community is mixed. To some, he is a charming figure from the golden age of UFO contactees, a man who may have been deluded or deceptive, but nonetheless contributed to the UFO lore. To others, Menger's stories, filled with inconsistencies and recantations, serve as a cautionary tale about the power of belief and the human capacity for self-deception. Despite the skepticism, Menger remained a popular figure until his passing in 2009. Later in his life, he once again began to assert the reality of his experiences, though by that time there was little interest in his claims. Bob Lazar. Bob Lazar is a name that has become synonymous with UFO conspiracy theories, particularly those involving the U.S. government's alleged secret research on extraterrestrial technology. His story, first brought to public attention in 1989, has captivated and polarized audiences for decades. Lazar claims to have worked as a physicist on reverse engineering alien spacecraft at a covert site known as S4, near the infamous Area 51. Despite the lack of tangible evidence to support many of his assertions, his narrative has been persistent and, in some cases, eerily consistent with later developments in the UFO disclosure landscape. Lazar first came into the spotlight in a 1989 interview with Las Vegas news reporter George Knapp, where he appeared under the pseudonym Dennis to protect his identity. He claimed that he was employed at a facility called S4, a subsidiary of Area 51, where he worked on alien spacecraft of extraterrestrial origin. According to Lazar, the U.S. government had 9 such craft in its possession, and his job was to reverse engineer their propulsion systems. Specifically, Lazar described a gravity propulsion system powered by a then unknown element, which he referred to as Element 115. This element, later known as moscovium, was synthesized in a Russian lab in 2003, though it does not exhibit the stable properties Lazar described for use in advanced propulsion systems. Notably, while some Lazar supporters indicate his, quote, prediction of this element is significant, the periodic table had already indicated that element 115 would exist. Lazar also detailed the layout of the S4 facility, describing hangars built into the side of a mountain and advanced biometric security measures. Interestingly, this type of scanner was later revealed to have been in use at other top-secret military facilities, lending some credibility to this part of his story. Central to Lazar's claims is the description of the propulsion system used by the alien craft. He explained that the craft was powered by a reactor using element 115, which generated a gravitational field that could be manipulated to allow the craft to move through space without the effects of inertia. According to Lazar, this technology enabled the craft to warp space-time, effectively allowing for faster-than-light travel. Lazar's depiction of the craft's operation, where it would orient its belly towards its destination before accelerating, was initially dismissed as pure science fiction. However, decades later, footage released by the U.S. Department of Defense showed unidentified aerial phenomena exhibiting similar flight characteristics. Believers in Lazar take this as proof that this matches with Lazar's earlier descriptions. Another notable aspect of Lazar's story is his claim to have seen briefing documents detailing historical interactions between Earth and extraterrestrial civilizations. These documents allegedly describe the involvement of a species of gray aliens from the Zeta Reticuli star system, a narrative that has become a cornerstone of many modern UFO conspiracy theories. While Lazar's story has intrigued many, it has also been the subject of intense scrutiny and skepticism. One of the most significant points of contention is Lazar's educational background. Lazar claims to have obtained degrees from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and the California Institute of Technology, yet no records exist to verify his attendance at either institution. Additionally, his employment at the Los Alamos National Laboratory, which he cites as a credential supporting his work on the S4 project, has similarly been disputed. Los Alamos initially denied he ever worked there at all. However, it was later revealed that he did work there in the capacity as a contractor for a private company. Critics have pointed out that the absence of these records is highly suspicious and undermines his credibility. Lazar, however, maintains that the government has erased his records as part of a cover-up, a claim that is both extraordinary and difficult to prove or disprove. Despite the controversies surrounding him, Bob Lazar's story has had a lasting impact on the public's perception of UFOs and government secrecy. His claims brought unprecedented attention to Area 51, transforming it from an obscure military installation into a focal point for UFO enthusiasts and the general public worldwide. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in Lazar's claims, particularly in the context of the U.S. government's own admissions regarding the study of UFOs. While these admissions do not confirm Lazar's story, they have sparked renewed debate about the possibility that elements of his narrative could be based on truth. Notably, there are additional conspiracy theories about Bob Lazar which assert that he may not be who he claims or appears to be. Some conspiracy theorists argue that he might be a disinformation agent. This theory suggests that Lazar was intentionally provided with a mixture of true and false information by the government to muddy the waters around UFO phenomena. By making outlandish claims that could be easily discredited, Lazar would help discredit genuine UFO research and reports. According to this theory, the purpose of this was thereby to divert public attention from any real extraterrestrial research being conducted by the government. Another theory is that he leaked a mixture of true and false information as a disinformation campaign not aimed at Americans, but rather as disinformation aimed at the Soviets. Further, the reemergence of Bob Lazar in recent years on Joe Rogan's podcast is thought to potentially be a psyop targeting both Russia and China. If you like this video, please do me a huge favor and click the share button and send it to anyone who you think may enjoy it. Remember to like and subscribe and check out the Patreon or YouTube membership to support the channel further. Also get my lazy chill lo-fi beats on Spotify, YouTube Music, or Apple Music, and remember to follow and subscribe on these platforms. I've included the links to everything in the description of this video. Shout out to my patrons Iced Mocha, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Zach Steele, Franz Tech, Unknown Delusions, Faye, Jack Russell, Boomslang, Spookiest Becky, Vespertine, Metanova, Will Rowan, Crab Nebula, and Blasphemoose.